بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a cloudy Thursday in the great state of New Jersey. People all over the world, they know the weather forecast in New Jersey every day, Monday through Thursday, because that's what we always start off with. You got to have a context. Got to set the setting. To me, weather is so important. I mean, sun is important. Having a cloudy day every once in a while is good too, because it makes you appreciate the sun. I remember being with Osama Khan, and may Allah have mercy on him, say, man, you guys are so lucky out here in the Bay Area. It's like 75 degrees every day, sun's out. And he's like, yeah, man, it's so boring. It's like every day, sunny and 75 degrees. SubhanAllah, human nature, you have to have change. And that's what I love about this area, because right around now, I think everyone in the tri-state area would agree with me. Right around now, you go outside and like, ooh, it's like a little bit crisper today, right? Like yesterday afternoon, around 4, 5, 6 p.m., I went outside and I felt like the weather is just slightly crisper, cooler than ever before. Hey, Oz. If you come back up, can you fill a Poland Spring bottle or something for these poor plants out here? Also, so that I know what it thinks they're fakes. You know, people think they're fakes. They're not fakes. They're just taken care of. They're watered every other day. But you start feeling that cool weather, and if you live long enough, you realize that cool weather, Maghrib is in a little bit earlier. That means school is right around the corner. That means getting new shoes, getting new book bag, new classmates, new teachers, all that wonderful feeling of the beginning of the school year. And I always love the beginning of the school year, right? And first marking period, I always rocked it. I was like, my notes are ready, my schedule's ready, my habits are perfect, my bed is made, everything was good. By the second marking period, I got to get a bit bored of the whole thing. That's the problem. Slide a little bit. By third marking period, you drag through the third marking period, because you know that third marking period is in the dog, those rough days of February, of March. The mid-year break has set in and finished January, right? And in American psyche, it's Thanksgiving. That's a wonderful time of year. Then the middle of the year, that's that winter break, is the best. And then coming back, there's only one thing in the American psyche to look forward to if you're into that thing, which is the Super Bowl. You know why the Super Bowl is so successful in America? Because everything is dead at that time. Nothing is important. Nothing is happening at that time. They absolutely dominate. So, but I never used to really care about the Super Bowl until my friends would invite me to these parties, and they were like my old friends, and I'm like, I'm Talib Ilm, I'm going to this nonsense, right? And then it would be a family affair. Oh, let's bring the kids. We have some food. We got some sandwiches. Let the wives get together as friends. All right, fine. I go there and I'm not paying attention at all. Okay, but eventually it grew on me. Unfortunately, it grew on me, right? And I started, because now like your son's watching, your kids are watching, his friends are watching, so it becomes just a bonding thing. In any event, January, February, March, those are the roughest time of the year, in my opinion, because days are short, weather's gloomy. Third marking period, I always just like, I don't want, I need either this, I can't do this, right? I was never great in the third marking period. But now, third marking period ends, spring is in the air. And once you feel that, the spring is in the air, all of a sudden everything is rejuvenated. I always finished off really strong. Literally, if you go to my school report cards, every single year, it's the same thing, right? It's a check mark, it's like a reverse check mark, right? But anyway, what do you care about my schooling? But I'm just saying, this is the way things are in the East Coast. It's about to get really nice. The fall is such a beautiful season. If you live up, we have a student named Maya Rahab, lives up in the Massachusetts area. She's a young girl. Her and her family, they're part of ArcView, and this year ArcView is going to be really good. Go learn about it and take the classes. Okay, and today we're beyond going into that ArcView. We always start in mid-September. We let the school year start and school year roll and everyone get into the school year. Then we start our classes after everyone gets rolling. All right, today, let's talk about stories of the awliya and Sa'id al-Maghrebi, Muhammad al-Maghrebi, Amr al-Makki. Okay, we're going to read about them. But first, let me send this message off. Okay, of the teachers. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Reading from al-Risala al-Qushayriya, which we're about to finish all the biographies here. Sa'id al-Maghrebi, entry number 70. هو أبو عثمان سعيد بن سلام المغربي. واحد زمانه, very unique in his time. لم يوسف قبله مثله. No one was like him, okay, before him. صاحب ابن الكاتب, okay. صاحب ابن الكاتب وحبيب المغربي وأبا عمرو الزجاجي ولقي النهرجوري وابن الصائغ وغيرهم. مات بنيشابور. He's a Moroccan, al-Maghrebi, right? Or his parents are Moroccan. And he ended up dying in Nishapur. وأوصى بأن يصلى عليه أبو بكر ابن فورك. Oh, the great Ashari scholar, Abu Bakr ibn Fawrak. Ibn Fawrak, write this name down in the margins of whatever you're doing, okay? Ibn Fawrak is one of the go-to books if you need to know the ta'wilat in the hadith, of the ta'wilat of the Mutashaabih hadith, okay? There are a hadith Mutashaabih, right? And Nawawi talks about them a lot. Nawawi is one of the go-to places for that too. Nawawi Sharh on Sahih Muslim. What is Mutashaabih, you may be asking? The word Mutashaabih has two meanings. Number one, oft repeated. So in the realm of Hifdh Quran, memorizing Quran, the Huffaz study the Mutashaabih, okay? The Mutashabihat. What are some of the Mutashabihat? For example, any type of verse that it's exactly the same set of wording or very similar wording, such that you ever find yourself reciting one surah, then you're not really paying attention. All of a sudden, you're reciting another surah. All of a sudden, how did that happen? You probably linked onto one of the mutashabihat, and then you ended up taking the wrong path to the other surah. Okay, so that's mutashabih. But in the realm of aqidah, the mutashabih are sayings and ahadith that would seem, on the literal meaning of it, to the face, the original default and literal meaning of a thing, al-zahir, to contradict another principle of the deen. That's what they call a mutashabih. And in Nawawi, in Sahih Muslim, he covers them. Ibn Hajar, in Sharh on Bukhari, Fath al-Bari, covers them. And Ibn Fawrak, before both of them, covered that. Fawrak is fa, waw, ra, kaf. We should actually read some of his books. I wish I had my iPad. I don't have my iPad right now on me, but we should, honestly, read some of these books. Ibn Fawrak. قال التقوى. There's only one quote from him. التقوى هو الوقوف على الحدود. Okay. Taqwa is really stopping at your limits. And there's no value in all this good, nice talk about the deen, and then we flirt with the boundaries of Allah. We got to make tawbah, or otherwise we can become frauds. We ask Allah refuge from that. Okay. قال ومن آثار صحبة الأغنياء على مجالسة الفقراء ومن آثر صحبة الأغنياء على مجالسة الفقراء ابتلاه الله تعالى بموت القلب. Listen to this. Is it wrong to be an aspirant businessman, to aspire for some of the matters of the dunya, to try to make a buck? That's not necessarily the problem. What's the problem? The problem is من آثر صحبة الأغنياء على مجالسة الفقراء. That you prefer to sit with that crowd of people over sitting with the pious. So that's really what it is. It's not about sitting with the crowd of business people, millionaires and billionaires. It's not even hard to become a millionaire, right, if you put your mind to it. Sitting with them in preference to sitting with the pious and sitting with the righteous. And what do I mean by sitting with the pious and the righteous? Sometimes just the first row in the prayer. Sometimes in every mosque, there's like 5-6 people. They are at every salah. And they're always from all walks of life. Like I know one mosque where one of the people who never misses a salah in the mosque is also an amazing real estate mogul. Right? He's an amazing real estate guy. This is in New Jersey. He's extremely successful. Okay? But he's also one of these fuqara. And fuqara does not mean financially impoverished. Fuqara here means they know their neediness to Allah. They recognize we need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they're always in salah. They're always in that gathering, those modest gatherings, the masajid, the first row behind the imam. Okay? So that's something extremely important to recognize, that we cannot forego that group. These are the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes it's a gathering of knowledge. Sometimes it's a going out for da'wah. Whatever it is, sit with them. Take from that barakah that they bring down by their humility and their ibadah and their pure intention. Next one, Muhammad al-Maghrebi. Okay. Okay. Muhammad al-Maghrebi. Let's go to him. He says, وَهُوَ أَبُو عَبْدِ اللَّهِ Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Maghrebi. He also died 299 after the Hijrah, and which equates to 9/11 of the Common Era. Okay. أستاذ إبراهيم ابن شيبان وتلميذ علي بن رزين عاش 120 سنة تقريبا. He died about 100 he lived about 120 years. Wow. I mean, you know that long life and physical health, I don't necessarily think there's any connection. Right? But physical fitness and long life, I don't think there's a connection. Physical fitness and enjoying the last years of your life, there's definitely a connection, right? So you don't get to choose when you die. There's no such thing as you'll live longer. There's none of that. But you'll live better. If you take care of a car, the great result is the car doesn't break down on you. If you take care of the body, you get the reward. You cannot cheat death. You can't extend life. But at least the last 25 years of your life will be better. Some people spend the last 25 years of life getting open heart surgery, limping, having, the bottles of medicine, okay, that whole look, the shoebox with all the little orange bottles, the nonstop visits to doctors and to hospitals so that's the bala, that's ibtila. That's purification of sins at the end of time, end of your days. But it's not something you work for. You should work for against that. And today we're going to talk about that, by the way. Here we have one of the awliya living 120 years. What does the last 40 years of his life look like? What does the last 50 years? Imagine this. You're 70 years old. Now, when you're 70 years old, what can't you do anymore? Number one, you're not attractive anymore to anybody. Number two, you're not really going to do anything physical. You're not going to do any heavy physical lifting or movement, right? You can't do a lot when you're 70. Now imagine you're 70 and is destined to live another 50 years. That's a lifetime. Literally a lifetime. That means someone can be born when you're 75 years old. Your great-grandchild will be born, and you will live to see him become a father. And 45 years old, huh? Probably, and maybe even a grandpa. In the olden days, definitely. By 50, you're a grandpa, right? Because you get everyone marrying at 20, right? Even marrying at 30, you'd be a grandpa. Unbelievable. So that's why it is important to put everything where it belongs. Namely, you got to take care of your physical health. It's not just you have to take care of it. Most people get turned off by that. You have to take care of it. No, you should want to, because you will feel so much better. You'll be able to do so much better. Life is efficient if you take care of this body of ours, right? It's a ni'mah, so why not use it? Why not take care of it? It's a great blessing. Okay, so he said he lived about 120 years. كان عجيب الشأن. His affair was amazing. لم يأكل مما وصلت إليه يد بني آدم سنين كثيرة. He didn't eat what human beings touched for a long time. And what does he mean by that? He didn't eat from the marketplace because he feared some unlawful wealth or unlawful practices got involved. Okay, as we read here from الرسالة القشيرية. Okay, it's in English too. The Risala's Qushayri's epistle, it's called. So he didn't eat مما وصلت إليه يد بني آدم سنين كثيرة. He didn't eat anything humans touched for many years because he wasn't sure if it's lawful or not. He only ate what came out of the earth directly, or the animal he raised directly. كان يأكل من أصول الحشائش أشياء تعود أكلها. He started eating different things out of nature that were not normally eaten by people, but he got used to eating it. قال أفضل الأعمال عمارة الأوقاف بالموافقات. I think he means here al-awqati. The best of deeds, to fill your schedule. Fill the schedule with things acceptable in the Sharia. So, busy. Why are youth getting in trouble? They're not busy. I remember growing up, the elders, the uncles, and all the people used to always praise busyness for youth. Young man, you got to get busy. Got to stay busy, right? Summertime. Why did they lower the work age? They shouldn't have lowered it. Just like, what is it now, 16? Right? It's no good. No good. Okay? People got to work. And it shouldn't be all work either. It should be working. It should be learning. And it should be enjoying your youth before it goes away. Believe it or not, Imam al-Haddad mentioned this. He said that he had a tilmeed, a student who used to bring his son. He said, I want my son to get used to studying. He said, why don't you let him play? Imam al-Haddad said, go let him do the things of youth now so he doesn't feel like he missed it later on, and then he would desire it later on. That's really important. So young people got to do young people things that you have time to do now so that you don't grow up later and say, well, I never did that. Or then you will have your own kids and you can't relate. You ever see some of these people who are like prodigies? Prodigies, I don't think they make good parents. I'll tell you who makes a great parent. Regular people who lived a regular life. They make the best parents because they understand the regular desires of a young person. They understand the mistakes of a young person. Like if you're a prodigy and a genius, do you think like someone like Einstein, okay? Do you think he was a good dad? I don't think so. He can't be. What does he understand about regular people? He's a prodigy. He lived differently than anyone else. And it's not just prodigies. People who are raised differently than everyone else in a negative way or in any excess. Like some of these parents, they got their kids studying like 6, 7, 8 hours a day in the summertime. Yes, that kid goes off and he excels better than everyone else, but he will be a terrible dad. Chances are he won't really relate to youth. He won't know what that life is like. Okay? So that's why, like, you see the best people and their parents are like totally ordinary people. Right? There's a lot of unique things that can happen in raising a children and a family that is a net positive. Like it's very unique, but it's positive. Okay, like I was recently reading about a guy who grew up on a multi-acre farm and had to do all the chores and live that natural life, right? And by the sunset was totally exhausted. He was homeschooled in the day, in the morning. He did homeschool in the morning and then worked on the farm at night. But he did this with all his brothers and sisters, so he wasn't lonely. And there were other farm hands there. And there are plenty of animals. So there's a very busy life. Many people say homeschooling, like the limit of it, yeah, there is a limit that you only deal with the people that you already filter. And that's not necessarily good. It's very good to learn how to deal with people that you didn't filter out or nobody filtered out. That's one of the positives. But it could also be a negative because you could deal with very bad people. But in any event, he lived like that. He came out of that like really good physical habits, physical health, came out there like always sleeps early, always wakes up early because you got to wake up early to do your chores, right? Then do school, then take a nap, then do all the farm work of the end of the day, then be home before dark, have dinner, and you're knocked out because you're so tired. So that was unique, but it benefited him. I had another, I read about another set of parents where the dad was from the military. I love this. I thought this was great. And he said he implemented 10% of the military in his house, right? You want breakfast? 10 push-ups, okay? First thing you wake up, you're not eating until your mom witnesses you do 10 push-ups, right? That's great. That's a great habit, right? You're getting your kids into, they're consistently, the boys in that family would outdo everybody, not because of anything drastic, just because of these habits. You want to eat dinner, all right, you got to do some kind of, there's always something. But that's also, it's one thing, generosity is a nice thing, but also the idea that you need to actually do something to earn something is also something that is a benefit. So before doing everything, they had to actually earn it with something that took less than 30 seconds. Literally, what does it take to do 10 push-ups? Like 30 seconds. But it was daily. So they came out. Now, one of them broke. The dad went too far. One of them completely broke. And that's the thing about extreme parents is that they can't treat everybody. They can, the 50% of the people won't work. The kids are going to burn them out. And one of them literally broke. He broke. The kid couldn't handle the pressure. But the other thrived on the pressure and became extremely successful, right? And so that's why extremes will always, someone will run away from it and someone will really succeed, will really love it. And that's not a good thing. So that's why you're better off not having extremes when you do these things, even if it's unique, but it shouldn't be extreme. Huh? Is he here? Our guest. Let's have our guest in about 15 minutes. Okay. He says here, وقال أعظم الناس ذلا فقير داهن غنيا أو تواضع له. Okay. وأعظم الخلق عزا غني تذلل الفقراء وحفظ حرمتهم وكرامتهم. He says the worst of the people, the most humiliated of the people, are the poor that kiss up and humble themselves to the rich. That is the most humiliated person. And the best of people, the most noble of the people, are the rich who know how to be with the poor without embarrassing them. Okay. He humbled himself with the poor, okay, and he guarded their honor. What does that mean? You sit with the poor. You have to learn how to sit with them. And for some people, who are the super rich, everyone else is poor. Like the super rich can sit with an accountant, a dentist. That's poor to him, right? To the super rich, that's poor. Okay. So the rich who do not know how to sit with the regular people or the poor, there's something missing in their character. They need to learn. How do you learn? Well, probably maybe take off that $3,000 suit. Put on some regular clothes. That's the first thing. How about not rolling up in your Bugatti? How about roll up in a regular car? Even a Mercedes. Fine. It's acceptable. But not in one of these cars that are out of reach. So there's a clothes, there's an outfit for everything. Nobody goes to the gym in wingtips. Fancy wingtip shoes, right? Nobody goes to the gym decked out in $1,000 jewelry. Women don't go to the gym like that, right? Okay. People don't go. You go to every place has a thing. You never see a guy do physical labor with his fanciest watch on. So everything has an outfit. There's also an outfit to sit with regular people. If you're from the super rich, you got to know these things. Okay. What do you bring up? You don't know how to talk? I know some super rich people who are great. They are genuinely great people that just love regular stuff. And as a result, you could sit him down. I'm telling you, I know a guy, this guy's multi-millionaire multiple times over, right? You can sit him down with a garbage man. I'm telling you. They'll kick it. They'll know how to talk. He'll know how to chit chat. He'll know how to talk. And he genuinely will just see another guy, right? He understands that wealth is just something Allah gave him. And he lived many, 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 many years of his life as a regular guy. That's the benefit from him. He wasn't born into this wealth. He earned it after years as a regular guy. And that's why he's blessed. And that's why he's good. Next is Amr al-Makki. وهو أبو عبد الله عمرو بن عثمان المكي. لقي أبا عبد الله النباجي وصاحب أبا سعيد الخراز وغيره. كان شيخ القوم وإمام الطائفة في الأصول والطريقة. مات ببغداد. He was from Baghdad and he was the Shaykh of the people of Tasawwuf. قال كل ما تخيله قلبك أو سنح في مجاري فكرتك. Anything that your heart imagines or comes to your thoughts أو خطر في معارضات قلبك or entered your heart من حسن أو بهاء أو أنس أو جمال أو ضياء أو شبح أو نور أو شخص أو خيال فالله تعالى بعيد من ذلك. Anything that comes into your heart. Okay. Allah is far from that. Okay. So this is التنزيه. كل ما خطر في بالك فالله بخلاف ذلك. Okay. الله منزه عن الشبيه والنظير. Anything of beauty, of light, of anything, of honor, of grandeur, anything that enters your heart as an image about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or a likeness, Allah is far from that. And this is one of the most important doctrines after Tawheed is what we call Tanzih. Okay? Okay? Tanzih. This is called Tanzih. Or we can call it, it's called in English, transcendence. Allah is transcendent beyond that. Okay? ألا تسمع قوله تعالى ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. Do you not hear what he said? Nothing is like unto him, and he is the the all-hearing, the all-seeing. وقال تعالى لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. And Allah says he was not born, he did not give birth, and there is none like other unto him. There's none other like unto him. وقال العلم قائد والخوف سائق والنفس حرون بين ذلك جموح خداعة رواغة فاحذرها وراعها بسياسة العلم واسقها بتهديد الخوف يتم لك ما تريد. He says here, knowledge is the driver. Sorry, knowledge is the reins. You could say qa'id here is your map. Knowledge is the map, the navigation system. Fear is the driver. And the nafs is between the two. Okay? It is a tricky creature. The nafs is a tricky creature. Gollum was made to symbolize the nafs. Whoever saw Lord of the Rings, Gollum is a character, symbolizes the nafs. Okay? Adi S. Adi C. Come on in. Gollum was somebody who, if you taught him a lesson, if you put him in his place, what does Gollum do? He starts crying. He makes himself a victim. Be careful of the fake victims. But the moment you give him an inch, he takes a mile. Okay? That's why he says, an-nafsu khadda'a. It's trickery. It's tricky. Rawaga. It goes deep. It's into things. It likes to go around and do all these different mischievous things. So be careful of our own self. And nafs is ourself. Okay? But we are unique creatures that we're able to be conscious of ourselves. The only way that is happening is that we have multiple facets to ourselves. Okay? That's what's unique about self-consciousness, if you think about it, right? Like your eyes can never see your eyes, right? You can't ever see your eyes without having a mirror, right? You can't see your eyes. So how is it that we talk to ourselves? We must have multiple facets to us. That's the miracle of self-consciousness. Animals and dogs are not, I don't think that they're self-conscious, right? The dolphin doesn't, well, we'll never know, right? But in general, the dolphin doesn't sit there thinking about what is life like as a dolphin. How did Allah make me a dolphin, right? First of all, we'll never know that, but that's the assumption. Well, why don't we look at children? Why do we love looking at children? Because they're not self-conscious. A child is never thinking age 2, 3, and 4. When they start talking and they start having a personality, but their self-consciousness hasn't developed yet. They're just a wonder to look at because it's pure, right? It's pure. There's no self-consciousness. And it's amazing to see them play with each other because they look like slobs, right? And nobody cares. None of the kids care. No one is self-conscious. And that's why it's beautiful to look at children, okay? So to watch them play and watch them do their thing. And when they talk, he's never trying to be funny, right? He doesn't have the consciousness for that yet. So that self-consciousness is one of something that, and that's one of the places where the scientists will, okay, what's physically different about us? They're all about, well, we're physically no different than anything else. Okay, then, but why are we self-conscious then? If we are physically, I remember reading something where if you took a human being and you crushed the human being, right, completely, and you separated out the commercially valuable elements within the human being, he would sell for no more than $13. This body is not worth commercially $13, like crushed. It's not worth $13. As opposed to gold, you can take a beautiful gold statue, melt it down, and it's still worth a lot of money. That chunk of gold is worth something. Intrinsically has a value. You could take diamonds, crush them up. Crushed, they still have some value. But not the human being. So where is that self-consciousness coming from? It's from the nafs. So the nafs is something that can talk to itself. It's such a unique feature, right, of the creation. So he says, beware of it. But راعها بسياسة العلم. Treat your nafs wisely based upon knowledge. You have now young people do not have much knowledge of the nafs. Not because they don't read books. Doesn't matter what they read, because they've never dealt with it before. So young people, when they get successful, all of a sudden spend all the money and party all day and all night until the day comes, boom, we hit a wall. Okay? And you realize, oh, okay, all that temptation was no good for us. We thought it was nice, and we thought success could just come to us, but no, all that partying, all that good stuff is bad, okay? Was not good for us. It ruined us. And sometimes in piety, people get into the deen and they realize that if they hit the gas, good things happen, right? If they push hard in the deen, a beautiful result happens inside of them. So what do? They put the pedal to the metal, right? And then watch, in 6 months, they hit a wall, right? In 6 months, they hit a wall and they burnt out and they're physically exhausted. They lost a lot of the zeal, and now they're on a downward slide, but they're too tired to stop the slide. That's the thing, right? You looking for this book?
You have it on you?
It's called the Risala of Qushayri. Oh, for so, okay. They're too tired to stop the downward slide, and that's a scary thing. And you see them slide really hard, right? Well, what happened at the end of that? By the time he gets back up, he learned something. So what he's talking about, siyasatul ilm, that knowledge of how to deal with the nafs is not a book knowledge. It's going to be experience. Like, what would you rather have? A guy who's not read a single book on managing a team, but he's managed a team for 10 years, versus the guy who's has a PhD in management but never managed a team, right? I know a guy who set up a company on entrepreneurship, right? Training people in entrepreneurship. The guy never made a single company in his life. He doesn't have a buck to his name, right? So what? Oh, but I have a master's. Who cares, right? You never have done it. You've never done it. So this nafs thing has to be experienced. You have to have experience. Now, do I have to go through, does every single one of us have to go through the experience? How about we get smart here and we take the experience of others? That is the value and benefit of having a sheikh. That's why we have shuyukh. You have a sheikh because the sheikh, he's gone through it all. Not only that, he also has trained others. So he's seen their experience and learned, right? Now, when he comes and tells you, stop here, stop getting up in the middle of the night for 3 hours. It's enough. Who did this? If I'm not mistaken, it was Salman al-Farisi with Abu Darda, if I'm not mistaken. Abu Darda entered Islam and Medina. Salman al-Farisi has been living with worshippers, scholars, and mystics of different religions, Christians and Jews, for decades on end. He knows the nafs, right? He knows the ups and downs of spirituality and the nafs and the ego and rejection and all that. So he said, so Abu Darda's wife, if I'm not mistaken, it's Abu Darda, she complained. She said he fasts every single day and he prays all night. So he said, okay, I'll take care of him. And they had been companions. The Prophet had, or no, they were friends. So he said to Abu Darda, let me spend some time with you. Huh? Put it up if it works. He said, let me spend time with you. He said, okay. Salman Farisi was older. So it came time for Abu Darda to wake up for tahajjud. Salman al-Farisi said, no, sleep. He said, some time later, he woke up and he said, no, sleep. Okay. Third time, he said, okay, now get up. Gets up for tahajjud. They pray a little bit. Then he goes, good, suhoor. He said, what's this? He said, suhoor. He said, no, we're not fasting today. Okay. So he basically measured him. He put him to the middle, because if you go up with that, if you run up the mountain, the problem is when you slip and you get tired, there's no way to put the brakes on when you're slipping downwards, right? And you need the energy to stop the downward spiral. Okay. And so that is where what he's talking about here, siyasatul ilm, if you know how to deal with your nafs, then hopefully you'll be able to learn how to, let's get rid of that gold because it's a clash there. Yeah. You know how to deal with your nafs, you'll be able to deal with other people's nafs, and you'll be able to deal with, to be a murabbi and realize this is enough, okay? And oftentimes the youth, they don't like it. The youth, they want to put the pedal to the metal, right? Everything. Grow a beard, first of this big. It's got to be this big. Anything less is weak, all right? Clothes, I don't care. I'm going to shop right in Trader Joe's. Turban, doesn't matter. Boom, let's go. All 100%. Okay, that's nice for a week. Listen, cool it down. Learn. This is not going to work forever. School, no. Quitting school. What are you doing? I'm doing Hifdh. I'm going to sign up for a program out in the middle of nowhere. Hold on a second. This is good for you in your imagination, but your knowledge is so weak about the ego. You're going to collapse from this stuff. So that's the kind of the concept we're talking about here of siyasatul ilm. And I'm telling you, the people who have a shaykh, those people, they don't have those blunders. Just like you have a driver, just climb a mountain, you have to have a trainer. It says, pause here, eat. Don't eat this, eat this. Right? You know that when they do these long hikes, they don't eat a lot of red meat. You know why? Because it's an inefficiency regarding going to the bathroom. Right? They don't want your stomach to be so heavy, right? All that stuff. So this is siyasatul ilm. واسقها بتهديد الخوف يتم لك ما تريد. Constantly remember that everything bad, every sin is associated with something bad. You cannot possibly commit sins and nothing bad happens. So remember that. There's never a point where you have reached some level, a good level, where you never get a blowback from your sins. Doesn't matter who you are, right? There will be a kind of blowback. Okay. Before we get to our guests, Omar, can you read us what the chart says?
Yeah. So it was from the Fatwa book that you were reading from.
Yep.
For the youth.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this chart, so I took a picture of it. It was pretty interesting.
Very nice. Okay, so the first one is the human. I see you WhatsApped it to me. The human soul, the spiritual heart, and nafs is the hedonistic self, and it has in the heart. You have a nafs and you have aql. Okay. Now, many times people discuss where are these? Are they the one and the same thing? Does it make a difference? Think about this. Let's ask this question. Does it make a difference? Where is the heart? Where is the ruh? Where is the nafs? Where is the aql? What difference does it make? Right? It's all there. Okay. So, but it's all, some people say it's different facets of the same thing. Others say it's a whole different thing. And Allah knows best. I personally think different facets of the same thing. So now the critical self is the moment you realize that your own self is the problem. And it has to be fixed. That is the moment you enter a nafs al-lawwama. Now you have separated between the two. I have an intellect, I have a self. I can examine myself critically. Third one, a nafs al-mutma'inna, okay, is when you your intellect has dominated over your nafs. Your nafs now is like a horse that moves exactly how the intellect tells it to move. And that's what I said many times. We are a people whose intellect drives our ego, not the other way around. On our intellect and knowledge, truth, okay, drives our emotions, not the other way around. So that if intellect tells me, love such and such because they deserve to be loved. Okay? Honor so-and-so because it deserves to be honored. Then I do it. Hate such and such. I have to learn how to hate it. Yeah, we should hate certain things. Okay? Do you like alcoholism? Do you like rape? You have to hate certain things. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a guest. And this guest knows more than anybody else how the intellect has to drive the body. And your nafs will say no, but your mind has to say, keep going, keep going, keep going. But he also, as a trainer and as someone who's done it, knows the levels, right? Pushing too hard, you're going to get an overuse injury. You're going to get bored. You're going to get sick of it. And if you go too little, it's useless. We have with us here an old childhood friend, Ahmad Fahmy, from the state of New Jersey. He's from North Jersey. Okay. Big family from North Jersey. And he ended up moving around, actually, living in London. Now lives in Turkey. But right now he's in North Jersey. And he joins us here as our fitness correspondent. We always got to be involved in physical fitness, even if it's 20 minutes a day. I told you before about 114.1. Here's the founder, and he's going to talk to us about fitness in general and about the program. Ahmad Fahmy, welcome to the Safina Society Nothing But Facts live stream.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh Shady.
Salam rahmatullah barakatuh. First of all, where are you?
I am somewhere in Parsippany, I think.
And how far? See, I asked him if he could come on this morning today, and he said, "No, I'm out for a run." I said, "That's perfect, right? You're like playing the part right now." So, this run of yours, this specific run, how long was it? Do you count anymore?
You know, I count. I'm 10 miles in, and I have 10 miles left.
Okay, is this something that's a regular? Because that's a marathon, essentially.
Yeah, it is almost a marathon, but it's part of my regular weekly routine.
So you do this once a week?
Well, I do this distance twice a week.
Twice a week. And is that all you do right
now? No, I don't. I also cycle, I lift weights, I swim, I do a bunch of things.
Okay, now, in your routine, what do you say about a person who devotes 25 minutes a day to physical fitness?
I say that's perfect.
Will they get results?
They will absolutely get results. It's, you know, it's subhanAllah, everything you said while I was listening is exactly right. You know, it's the person who doesn't get results is the one who gets excited. Let's just say they hear I did 20 miles and then they go and they run 10 miles and they get injured and that's it.
Yeah.
But the person who does 25 minutes, what ends up happening is what you can do in those 25 minutes becomes more and more. So you might be able to do 1 mile in 25 minutes, but then your body adapts and then you can do 2 miles. And then eventually it's not enough. And you want to do more and more and more. And so the name of this particular game is consistency. That's just all it is. I mean, so you knew me from college. I was the least athlete. You were the athlete. I wasn't the athlete.
Yeah.
I was in the computer center, you know, in Livingston. You know, doing the overnight shift, and it all started with 1 slow mile. But one thing I did do, well, actually, there's 2 things I've always done to keep me consistent. I've always had a shaykh, a coach. I've always had a shaykh of running, a shaykh of triathlon.
Yeah.
Someone that would guide me from overuse injuries, from going too overboard in anything. You know, following the whole the 5% rule, you don't go over 5% every week. In terms of increasing what you do.
Yeah.
And so, the worst thing somebody could do is try to emulate what I'm doing now after 17 years of doing this consistently.
Yeah.
One of 2 things are gonna happen. Either you're gonna be like, "That's ridiculous. I'm not. That's gotta work," or your nafs, or as I call it, your inner loser, will give you an excuse not to do something.
Yeah.
Or you might do too much and get hurt.
Let me ask you a question. A lot of people are very hesitant and nervous around the idea of a mentor and a coach.
Yeah.
So they feel, oh, he may push me too hard. Oh, I'm an adult now. I may just quit on him when I feel like it, right? How did you get yourself to really stick to the mentor? And it may have to be also the skill of the mentor to keep you with him.
Yeah. I think it's a really good question. Not every mentor or every coach works for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to find the one that works for you. So I had hired a world-class, very famous coach, but his approach didn't work with me. I mean, he was too, let's take from a Sufi, he was too Jalali. You know, I need a mixture of Jalal and Jamal in
He
my
was
coach.
too pushy.
He was too, not just pushy, he was too intense in terms of, I mean, he was a former Olympic athlete, and that's the only mode he understood. He didn't understand that, you know, I have children, I have a career, I have other things.
Subhanallah. Amazing
And
you
so
say this. I don't
yeah.
want to cut you off, but you
No,
guys
please
all
cut me
remember.
off.
You remember what I just said that prodigies don't make good dads. Prodigies don't know what regular life is like. They don't know what regular youth is like. They don't know what normal life is like, right? Likewise, here you get an Olympic athlete, did nothing his whole life, very entitled life. He doesn't know what regular life is like, so he's not a good coach, at least for a regular person like ourselves.
Exactly. I mean, if you missed a workout, it was the end of the world for him. Now tell him, no, my children are sick. He's like, that's no excuse.
Yeah.
And all of that. But ultimately, you find the sheikh or the coach that works for you. And the fact that you're also paying them money. You know, we are lucky. You know, I don't, like, for example, if I find if I'm going to be a murid to a sheikh, for example, I'm not going to pay him money. But with these people, some of them, it's very hard to get them to take you even as a coachee.
Yeah.
And they will weed things out. They will weed people out so that they only coach those who they believe are going to do what they say. And the other thing is they're generally not cheap. So you almost feel you're fearing losing this person, and you're paying money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that raises the level of accountability. And so go ahead.
Do you still have a coach after all these years?
I have a coach in everything I do, whether it's
SubhanAllah.
swimming, whether it's in business, whether it's in spirituality. I have two things that, because I am not a disciplined person by nature. I am not, despite what people think. I need two things. I need a tribe and I need a coach.
Yeah.
I need sohbah and I need a coach in me being able to do anything. So in
Yeah.
everything I do, whether it's in ultra running, triathlon, swimming, business, spirituality, I have a coach in all of those endeavors.
Have you become
And
a coach?
I wouldn't call, professionally, I'm a coach in business, and amateur-wise, I coach those who are trying to get into endurance athletics. But once they reach a point, I can no longer coach them, and I'll hand them off to an actual professional coach.
I see. So you're like a muqaddim, what they call a muqaddim. A muqaddim, someone who introduces the person to the field. And then once you are mature at the intermediate level, then you pass off to the real sheikh after that.
That's exactly. I am here to get people to do things, whether it's memorize, to get their foot in the door in being outside, fitness, health, nutrition,
Yeah.
and then passing them off to those. Yeah, I like that. I'm a muqaddim, or I
Yeah.
aspire to be one.
So when you do all this running, most people cannot fathom how it happens simply because they live a little bit differently. Let's say someone's a school teacher.
Yeah.
Like their day is from 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Then if they have their family and their kids, it's already dark by the time they get 5 minutes, right, of free time. So how do you what advice do you have for the person whose schedule is just packed all the way?
You know, the first thing is, unless you're Elon, you have time. I in my professional side, coach very, very, A-type entrepreneurs who've built massive businesses, incredibly busy, and they do iron.
Yeah.
Everyone has time. I don't buy, and anyone who tells me they're busy, I ask them for their phone and I look at their usage on their iPhone. I say, okay, so based on this, you have 60 hours a week you're looking at your phone, or 40 hours a week you're looking at your phone. You can become an Olympic level athlete in that time. So whether it's a teacher, whether I believe everyone has time. But having said that, I think I've always thought balance is a myth. It's very hard to balance. I believe in integration, and so for example, my long runs generally include one of my children, whether it's pushing one on a stroller or pulling one, like attaching a bungee cord to my back and pulling one on the scooter. And it's one of the best times I actually interact with my children because I'm physically and mentally there.
Yeah.
And so I believe whether a school teacher or anyone, you can make time for either fitness or, in the case of 114, fitness and memorization.
I also think that time is always an excuse that is really a reflection of lack of desire. So, as a coach, one of the best things to do in anything is the ability to stoke desire. And the best coaches in any realm, whether it's sports or shiyukh, is the ability to stoke within a person desire for the outcome.
Absolutely.
Right. And then it's about building the habit that will inevitably produce that outcome rather than shooting for the outcome. And then you're like, all right, I got the outcome. I made it. What do I do now? That's a problem too. Yes. So how do you initially stoke that desire in people to get the result?
I'm a big believer in, and everyone is different, but what works for me and works for other people is to actually create a goal. Because whether it's an outcome or a goal, like I'll give you an example. If you say, I want to get fit, it's really hard to change the behaviors to get fit. But if you say, okay, I'm getting married in 6 months, I want to be in good shape before I get married.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you have the impetus to get in shape. Or if you can do a half marathon and you've registered and you've socially told people, the impetus then to change the behaviors, it becomes a lot easier. It takes away a lot of the friction from actually doing the work required to do it. So I'm a big believer in setting the outcome, and then from there doing the work to get to the outcome. Exactly, cornering yourself.
You know what? I used to drive the people at NBIC crazy. I used to drive them nuts. I used to announce a program without any thought, without any discussion, without anything. I used to announce it, right? And it will make everyone crazy. Hey, we never sat for a discussion. We never did this, that, and the other. I was like, well, now we're stuck with it, right? The poster's out there, right? Now we have to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's the fear of the discussion. I have this fear of the discussion, right? I totally am afraid of the discussion because there's a high likelihood that someone in the room will use their brain to show everyone else how scary this is, how impossible it is. And we will leave the meeting 50% chance we're not doing the program, right?
Exactly. I mean, we are, as an ummah right now, we don't believe in calls to action. Just like you described the call to action. We have this thing, it's going to happen. Yeah. We don't calls to sitting down and talking, I always think to myself, instead of Muhammad's, I don't know if you can say lowest points, and you're going to have to correct me because I'm the furthest thing from a Shaykh, but when he gets the revelation and he's terrified and he's in his wife's arms, Allah says, Qum, stand. Like that's the ultimate act.
Yep.
Act. Don't talk, don't act. Stand in. He's sitting cradled and he's saying stand.
Yeah.
And so I really believe that's why when you told me you're on a run, talk.
Yeah.
My initial reaction, my inner loser, my Nafs was like, no, I can't talk to these. I'm running, I can't. But then I caught myself. I was like, I have a call to action, act.
Yeah. There is one ayah, I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. It says, Surah Al-Kahf, إِذْ قَامُوا فَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا. They stood up, then they made dua.
Exactly.
And Imam al-Haddad comments on this concept saying that Allah will not answer your dua until you start acting yourself, right? You got to take an action. Which is one of the biggest differences between talking about doing and actually doing.
Exactly.
Right? So I believe personally that a person needs to have a motivation, and the motivation sometimes, like the end result, could be the goal or something. But then the best philosophy for an organization, for a person, for a family, whatever, is that the goal should be the habits.
Absolutely.
That will inevitably produce multiple championships, right?
Exactly. I always tell people the goal of the goal is not the goal.
Yeah.
The goal of the goal is the behavior changes that you get as a person or organization to meet the goal.
Yeah.
So for you, for example, to be an ultra endurance athlete, You know, run 100 miles, run 200 miles. You have to stop things and you have to start things. And that's where 114 came from. You know, it's like, what's the Islamic version of a triathlon that requires you to stop and start? And I like the thing that people fear most is, at this, especially in our age, is memorization. So if I couple memorization of surah and longer surah with the, you know, what behaviors do you have to stop and what behaviors do you have to start to memorize the surah? Like, who do you have to become a hafiz in your 40s when every inkling in your body is telling you no?
Yeah. And it's almost like if you tell people that mountain, it's too scary. But if you say to somebody, actually sit down, set a timer, right, and just listen to the same passage of Quran, listening, that's it, for 15 minutes. But you do this every single day. How easy is that? If he's just listening, right, and then you start getting it rolling. And then it's one surah after the next. Then it's one recitation after the next. And so this is one of the things your organization is working on. Now let's talk about that. The website is 114.1. Where are the digits here?
It's ONE.
Uh-huh.
The number 14.
14.
ONE.
Okay. ONE.
14.
.ON. I didn't know that .1 is a thing. Did you invent that?
No, I found it.
Because you are in real life, you're a
Yeah.
technologist.
Yes.
Okay, so tell everybody, what is 114? Focusing on our audience is mainly out of England, out of Europe, outside of Jersey, and they might want to be involved. So how would they get involved? Firstly, what is it, and then how would they get involved?
Yeah, so it was born, I would say, during actually a long run, as a lot of my ideas come from, where, you know, as I started running longer and longer distances, you know, from multiple marathons and things like that, I started and getting into Ironman. Like, what would the Islamic equivalent, like, what would a race targeting Muslims look like? And I thought different formats, and then eventually landed on memorization, because it's so difficult. You know, it's so mentally difficult. It's actually not difficult. The idea of it is very difficult. It's like if you tell somebody do an Ironman, I go, I'm so scared of swimming in a lake for an hour and a half. Although ironically, it's the easiest part, believe it or not. You know, and so the idea was born, and so I started thinking, what would the format be? What would the entry-level race be? And it became what we call the kingdom, which is memorizing Surah Al-Kahf and running 3 miles. And then the next level, we're memorizing Surah Yasin and running 6 miles. And then memorizing Surah Al-Kahf, which you mentioned, and running a half marathon. Then memorizing Surah Al-A'raf and running a full marathon. And then the highest level became memorizing Surah Al-Baqarah and running 50 miles. There's a secret level above that, but you unlock that by doing certain things. There is a higher level we call the Prophet's Tahajjud, but you can qualify only by doing the last race. And you can do it anywhere. So we try to launch a new location every year, but you can do it virtually anywhere. And we have people in London. We have 30 people in Egypt that did it last time, and there's a way in which you sama and a way in which you run virtually. And what I've tried to do is similar to what I said in the beginning, is create a tribe of people, a sahba around you who are doing the same thing, who are encouraging you, giving you tips, keeping you accountable, expose you to people who can coach you, etc. So it's not just creating the race, it's also creating the content in the community to help you complete the race and help you overcome the fears of memorization, which is probably the biggest fear in 114, is this idea of memorization. Really scares people.
You know, the beauty of memorization is it doesn't take much intelligence. It just takes diligence, and it takes a type of stubbornness. And one of the reasons I liked about, you know, this aspect of fitness is that if you can walk, chances are you can walk fast. Chances are you can walk uphill, right? So it's just, and walking, incline walking in itself is a great exercise that will lose you a lot of weight, right? So Hifdh is really no different. In the same way, you're just moving your legs, right? Hifdh, you're just repeating something. Anyone can repeat anything, right? It's really not that intimidating if you think about, if you break it down to atomically, what actually are the atoms and the protons and the neutrons here? Nothing other than a nonstop repetition of a word, right? So I think the both go great together. We have a lot of listeners out of London. How can they contact the London tribe?
If you just email there's an email on the website, and there are people out of London that do this race. And what's happening organically is that there are people coming together to run together and memorize together. So we can put you in contact with them via WhatsApp.
Okay, good. And they can contact you on the website, 114.1?
Yeah. And if you register, and again, I encourage you, if this idea is interesting to you, register. Don't overthink it. Register. We have a code right now called Sohba. Just use the code Sohba and I'll give you, I think, 25% off.
Nice.
And it'll expose you to an entire community of people who are memorizing. There's a WhatsApp group with people who are memorizing and running and encouraging each other. And it's really amazing. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's one story of a surgical resident out of Maryland who just found out about the race via the web, and he finished a 30-hour surgical shift. Then he ran the 50 miles.
Whoa!
He ran the 50 miles, and when he recited the Baqarah, I think had 3 mistakes in the whole Baqarah. But the beauty of it was he didn't think he could do it. So other people from Maryland in 114 found out where he was, drove to him, and paced him to the finish.
Wow.
There's a young lady who's 13, I believe, who memorized Al-Araf and ran the marathon.
Wow.
And so
How old is
there's 13.
Oh, okay. Subhanallah.
Yeah. And so, and then there are, my father who's 81, who just walked it. I mean, you have the taunts, and you have the elite athletes, and you have the young folks. You have people who are rucking it. You don't necessarily have to run it.
Yeah. But showing up is a big deal.
That's it. Showing up. It's all about showing up.
And I think there's value to the impetuous nature of some people that don't want to have a discussion and want action. And you got to be very afraid of thinking, because thinking, your mind, your nafs will use your brain to think you out of action, and that's why thinking is a problem, right? And thinking in that location, in that time, is a problem. Now, let me ask you another controversial question.
Sure.
Treadmill versus being out on the road.
Always out on the road.
But
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. I just think. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We good.
So it's interesting. I'm getting a call from Sheikh Yassin while I'm talking to Sheikh Shadee.
Wow.
Like
Brothers, this is Sheikh Yasser's Fahmy's older brother, by the way. For those who may not have realized that from the name, but Sheikh Yasser Fahmy is always on Celebrate Mercy. He's from New Jersey, North Jersey, and his organization is called Prophetic Living, and this is his older brother.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to me.
So I believe that we are a tradition that needs to be outside. That it's a karsa that we're always inside.
Buy my shoes.
The revelation came in the mountains. That's why the logo of 114 is the mountains with the Quran in the middle. And whenever I am down, whenever I am stressed, when I always go out. I'm always out. And so I'm a big believer that being home is, like the Bedouins say, the graves of the living. So I will always err on the side of being outside and being in nature. I feel better. And ideally with other people, And now, having said that, I do like the treadmill for some track work. But
what do you mean by track work?
You get faster by doing intervals of hard and easy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You should never be in the middle, as opposed to us as a people or people of the middle. You should never train in the middle. You should oscillate between very easy and very hard. And so when you're doing those kinds of efforts where you're running intensely for 3 minutes and then walking for 3 minutes to recover, treadmill is really good for that. When I'm babysitting, or I'm with my children, obviously treadmill, and I have to watch all of the children, then the treadmill becomes ideal because they'll be around me. Yeah, I'm home.
And it's also for inclement weather.
Inclement weather. Although even the inclement weather, I like to be out. And that's a function of training in the UK. There is no. They don't say there's no bad weather, just bad clothing options.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: if someone did treadmill and out in the road, what's the percentage of the tread itself removing the benefit from the run? Like, is it removing 10% or 40%?
The rule of thumb with the treadmill, if you want to mimic the road, is to keep it on an incline of 1 at the very least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so that kind of, I think, offsets the difference.
Okay, I see. Good. All right, this has been very good. Now, the event is September?
So it's September. The virtual event is September 16th and 17th. For those in New Jersey, there's one, there's like a flagship race in North Jersey, which we're hoping you're going to show up at.
I'm coming on September 16th. It's on my schedule.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, so it's the Quran days on Saturday and then the runs on Sunday, but you can do it virtually anywhere in the world. And you'll see there'll be a bunch of people doing it in Turkey, in Egypt, in Dubai, in Texas. And then there's another in-person race in Maryland in October.
So in-person is September 17th.
Yeah, it's so the Quran day where they have like lectures on Quran. It's really fantastic, beautiful day. Plus the tasmiyah is on Saturday, then the runs on Sunday. And your score is a combined score of both. So we have a system. So for example, there's an almost semi-elite athlete last year that lost to a normal person because the normal person had perfect tasmiyah.
Oh, you keep score.
Oh no, there's a score and there's winners and there's everything.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah. No, there are people who are in it to win it.
That's really good.
And so you get a Quran score, a running score, which is your time, and the combination of both gives you your 114 score.
Oh, I see. That's pretty smart. That's very smart. And the test is you're out of 100. And then you lose points for the tasmiyah, right? For the Quran.
Something very exact. Something very similar to that.
And then the fastest, the running, the numbers is easy because that's basically
exactly the fastest one.
Okay.
So we have a whole system that scores and stack ranks people, and there are people who care a lot about that, and there are people who just want to show up.
Yeah.
Which is and just take part. And the one thing we say is that even if you have half the surah memorized, still show up. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Come, even if you're gonna walk it and you have a fourth of the surah memorized, still come.
Yeah. All right, very good. I hope to see people there, and I hope that our guys here on the live stream, if you want to be part of this, go to 114.1. There are a lot of people out of London, okay, doing this. There are a lot of people. So in London, we need to hook you up with the Karima Foundation. They love this kind of thing, right? They're all about this. And we need to hook you up with Ansar, Sheikh Ansar.
Yeah, please do. And I lived there for 12 years, so I speak London.
Yeah, so he lived there in London. So if you are out of London, if you know Sheikh Ansar, if you know the Karima Foundation guys, send this their way. I'm telling you, they will love this kind of thing because they're practical organizations that want to engage people at a level that is very useful for their life, more so than just theory, right? So I guess we're going to have footage and we're going to update. Now I'm stuck now because I just said it. We're going to have footage. I'll take my family there. They'll all get the footage of us running, right?
Inshallah.
And then we if it works out, we put on the live stream. So you get the evidence, the qat'i evidence that we did it. Right?
That would be great.
All right, so we'll let you get back to the next 10 miles, inshallah. And we'll have you on every once in a while as a fitness
I'd love that.
correspondent, inshallah.
I'd love that. Allah barik fi.
All right. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem.
All
Assalamu
right.
alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, inshallah. All right, Omar, let's get his picture on the thumbnail, too. Tell the thumbnail guys to put his picture on there. They're probably going to want to clip it out and put it for their organization, right? 114.1 to spread the news, just to get everybody on board with this and to make it happen because, we got to stay busy and we got to stay healthy. And especially in this day and age, the whole world is sitting. I used to think only the ulama are sitting. No, everyone's sitting. IT is sitting. Everyone's sitting. Speaking of action, we have a whole nother segment here. It's not a long segment, but listen to this. Can you shout out La Cocina and the Back to School Drive? Okay. Go to lacocina367.org, everybody. lacocina367.org. And if you're on Instagram, go to @lacocina367. Why is 367? Is it a special verse in the Quran? It is secret Sufi numerology. It's the address of the building. 367 is the address of the building. La Cocina is a very common name. It just means the kitchen in Spanish. Okay. And the kitchen is a place where all good things happen, right? Think about this. Hey, the good things happen in the kitchen. Food is made. Food is eaten. Food is shared. Conversations happen. Discussion happens. We transmit our beliefs, our politics, our manners, and a lot of knowledge to our children. Where? At the kitchen table. How about adab? Most adab revolve around food, right? The adab of sharing, the adab of not overeating, the adab of cleaning your mouth. Don't eat with your mouth full. With adab always comes submission, right? And for the parent, the kitchen is a place of learning sabr, right? Because you got to learn, hold on, I can't correct 10 out of 10 things, right? The kid's going to go crazy. I got to have sabr. Pick your battles. You got to learn how to engage everyone at the table. The kitchen is a place where you know if something's troubling somebody. Because if someone's not talking, right? If someone's not eating, you know something's wrong. The kitchen is where the therapy begins, right? It's where you get to know the state of everybody else. So the kitchen is one of the most, it's one of the most wonderful things and one of the most wonderful feelings. So that's why we called it that. And our goal by 2030, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, 7 days a week, dinners. It's going to be a big team. That's going to be a sturdy building. It'll be used 7 days a week. And I think we're going to cap it off at 100 people a week, right? We have to cap it off.
Yesterday we had
150. Subhanallah. Yesterday we burst through our past record with 150 human beings came to us to get a bite of food. Subhanallah Adim. And this all started way back in the year 2016, I believe, where we would go out and I'm telling you, we started with 10 hamburgers. We went off and it was after dhikr night and I knew we were going to do it. And I'm like, all right, everyone, I took a kufi off someone's head and I said, everyone, empty your pockets in this. We're going to go and we're right after this dhikr, we're going to go out down and we're going to buy a bunch of hamburgers and we're going to hand them out. And we did that. It was cold. It was January, I think. It was December. It was cold. We didn't know what we were doing. We're just walking around looking for homeless people. Eventually, after a few months of that, we got into a groove. And that's the beauty of it. And we still do this. Ennis and Harris still do this. Where there's a corner between the Walgreens and the park in New Brunswick. And Sam's Chicken's on the other side, halal. And that's our area now. And Ennis would open up his truck, blast the adhan, people would come. We give out the food, right? And certain families in the community, they would cook their food and they would pour in a container, like just 3 or 4 or 5 containers. That's it, right? That means like imagine you had an extra kid in the house, just that. But you do that every day. That's 5 containers. You drop it off at Jummah. Ennis comes, gets it from Jummah. And now they do, and they go do the run. And I said, guys, eventually we want to bring the people to us rather than coming out. It is not efficient. We need to have a waqf. We need to have a building and bring the people to us. And that's what we do now. And mashallah, we hit another milestone, another record. 150 people came to the Cocina last night. Mashallah. And we want to replicate this 7 days a week. Okay? 7 days a week. All right? Every night, there's no excuse for anyone to go hungry in this area when Muslims are there. That's what the mentality should be. If Muslims are here, no one's go hungry. That's how we should be. We haven't done our job in the United States, if that's the case, because we all came here not as blue-collar laborers like England, not as people who are miskeen themselves in England. We came here as engineers and doctors and lawyers. I'm talking about my generation. Muslims have been, or my parents' generation, Muslims have been there before them, right? Okay, there have been Muslims here before that. But I'm talking about our generation, our culture. The dominant culture of Muslims today in America is this, is that you came here, you got highly educated, and you got highly wealthy, if that's even an expression. It's disgusting, the concept that we have a deen that is all about feeding. Where there is a masjid, if there is an impoverished part of town within 5 miles, it should be the imperative of that masjid to buy a little property, just buy a shack. Seriously, just buy a shack. Rent it out even. Buy a shack. You got these mega masajid. I'm telling you, I go to some of these places, right? And I tell them, you disgust me. You literally disgust me, right? Because it's a mega, the chandelier by itself. If you sold these 3 chandeliers, you buy a house in the hood. In the poor part of town, right? Buy a house there. Every one of you from the families in this mosque, every day or at least once a week, get 1 container. That's it, just 1 container, and fill it. A container this big. Fill it and cover it. You can buy all the containers from Amazon for like $3. And bring it to the masjid every Friday. Every Friday, 1 volunteer goes, takes it to the house. And then it's distributed, right? So easy. Allah is going to bless you if you do this. We only have time for 1 or 2 questions, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go. We got some people in Houston as out of the question thrown outside. Yeah, of course. But is it going to be cold, that hot in September? That's my question. In Texas, is it that hot in September? That's my question. Because September, things are still hot in the beginning, but towards the end, maybe they cool off. Okay. The hard part is taking action 100%. That's why you got to do it without thinking. It's almost like that shaitan is going to come when you give charity. The Prophet ﷺ said 70 shaitan will come and stop you. How are they going to stop you? They're going to give you rational reasons or seemingly rational reasons not to give sadaqah. Okay. I'll say it again. If there is a mega masjid and you have an impoverished part of town 5 miles away, you disgust me. You are disgusting. You are selfish. For $60,000, you could rent a place. You could buy a place. Right? Put there, mega masjids, you disgust me. That's the timestamp. Okay? Because it's selfish. You are selfish. Right? Stomachs walking around full, and the Prophet ﷺ said your neighbor's stomach is empty. Okay? It is not so hard. We will, as Muslims, I'm telling you, make a humongous difference in the country if we just act upon this one thing. Every masjid have to have a little soup kitchen. It's not that hard, right? They said, oh, how do you register? What, register? Register what? Oh, what is this thing that they're doing? It's a house invitation. I own a house and it's an invitation. I don't have to register for this, right? I don't need to register for this. Oh, are you a registered soup kitchen? That's what you're worried about. That's what you're worried about. No, I own a home. Safina Foundation owns a home, and we're having a dinner party. What's wrong with that? I don't need a registration for this. And you're worried. See, I'm telling you, Shaitan comes and messes with people's head. That's what you're worried about. Are you officially registered to call yourself a soup kitchen? Oh, really? Can you show me somewhere in the archives of the news that someone went to jail by calling itself a soup kitchen when it was not officially registered as a soup kitchen? Please. Okay, fine. Call it whatever you want to call it.
Someone's asking tips for someone who's suicidal and depressed.
Oh, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Maybe you contact the Khalil Center. Okay. Contact the Khalil Center if you're suicidal, depressed, and maybe even contact 911. Like, you need to protect yourself from yourself. Okay. Oh my goodness. Martinelli has got it down. If you had a soup kitchen and a basketball court, game's over. Game's over. Game's over. That is perfect. Okay. You know that some people say, oh, you say this stuff, you disgust me, it's harsh, it's rude. No, it's not. That's just how we are over here. It's not harsh or rude. Okay. It's facts, right? And people got to move. Well, at least we got your attention.
Facts.
Right? Can you get Ahmad's face on the thumbnail? Can you tell them? We don't. You know that we don't even know who's making the thumbnails. Me and Omar are sitting here, and it's getting uploaded. Huh?
I think it's Noah.
Is it Noah?
Yeah. We don't have a good picture of him. That's the issue.
Look him up,
Yeah, we could have found him.
or just take a screenshot.
Yeah, it wasn't good. Like.
Yeah, they never came out. I read Warren Buffett was like that. He used to come home and literally step over his crying child and go into work mode. I don't know what that's all about, that comment, the context, but from Jay Perez, who is a regular commenter here. But, you know, workaholics is a very dangerous thing. You know that? Workaholic is a very dangerous thing. Ubad al-fulus. That's what they are. Ubad al-fulus. They worshippers of money. Like, I love the concept of productivity is one thing. But productivity, who's telling us what's valuable? Right? Who is telling us what's valuable? Like, I don't like to waste a moment of time. It's just, it disgusts me to waste time. Right? Even rest is calculated. Rest is calculated. Even downtime is calculated as a benefit with your family or something. If the question is productivity according to whom? Ahlul dunya or Ahlullah? And Allah is the one who tells us what's valuable. And if somebody imagines that like human contact is not the most valuable thing, they're lying to you. Human contact is one of the most valuable things, especially your family contacts. That's the most valuable thing. You can have the $1 billion, in the bank, but if your immediate human relations, your family, your wife, your child, your husband, your spouse, your kids, your parents, you have a sour relationship with them, then that money means nothing. You can't even enjoy it. What do we got from Instagram? Read me anything from Instagram because I can't see it here.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.
I'm in Cali, heading to Zaytuna for opening day. Question: what is the best approach to finding a sheikh as a mentor?
The best approach to finding a sheikh is to constantly and consistently go to different gatherings, read different books, watch different videos. Just expose yourself to shuyukh. Allah will guide you to what is best for you. For when it comes to fitness, was targeting a mentor I thought would be best for me. He just never answered me, right? He promised me and everything, but he never answered me. Another one, it just happened, and boom, I got a mentor now, or a coach. Tahir Omar tells us there's some sad news. Pakistani boy killed himself over the Niagara Falls. That's very sad news. May Allah Ta'ala forgive him for that and entering him into Jannah. Okay? Because it is a sin. He's not damned to hell forever for committing suicide. So we have to ask Allah forgive him and enter him into Jannah. Okay? Let me read this question here, this comment. that says, where does it say here? It was about these masajid getting soup kitchens. Can we visit La Cocina on Wednesday and try to replicate it back home? Yes. Sati is here. You can visit it Wednesday. Okay. 6 o'clock, doors open. Come earlier at 5:30 and you can help volunteer. Right? Volunteers are handpicked, but you can observe at least. You can observe how they do it. Why do I say volunteers are handpicked? Because volunteers of the soup kitchen must also have the capacity to give dawah and to teach. Just like the 114 is like running and it's Hifdh Quran. This is not a secular soup kitchen. Said it once, I say it a million times. It is soup kitchen with the intent of dawah. All of our volunteers, and some have snuck in without me knowing, right? But that's okay. The volunteers, the main people, the leadership must have the vision of dawah and must have the ability to teach people the basics of Islam. Okay. Will I be at the event tomorrow at 8 p.m.? Yes, I will be. Islam in Japan, inshallah. Question on the hadith about ithmid being good for the eyes and hair growth. What type of hair are we talking about? The eyelashes. The Prophet ﷺ said that when you put the black kohl on your eyes, it's good for the eyes and the growth of the eyelashes. And it's something to be done at the night, in the nighttime, and to washed off in the daytime. Okay. Arman Rashad, alhamdulillah, my masjid has a local soup kitchen. Good. This is our role in America. Forget this politics. I'm telling you. What good has come from it? Tell me what good has come from it. Maybe someone can cite stories here and there. Right? Oh, you got Muslims in politics, Muslims in sports, Muslims in Hollywood. Islam, it's a religion. It's a granular religion. It means it comes for the everyday person, and it comes for everyday things, right? That's what's going to make the difference. Or Islam in America is when the everyday people are just 10% different than everybody else in the sense of what they're doing, right? Just extract 10% from somebody, 5% from somebody, even 1%, right? But from a million people, all of a sudden you have a massive difference. Whereas the big things that catch your attention, Muslims in this, Muslims in that, Muslims in this, Muslims in that, it doesn't permanently move the needle. It just slightly. Okay, we have a Muslim who won the Olympics. So it's fleeting. But the true difference that will make Islam in America something that will transform the country is when every single Muslim is like 2% a contributor. That's what we need. Okay. What is M. Hamza saying on Instagram, Omar?
What is the hadith regarding addicts not entering Jannah, and is it authentic?
The addict not entering Jannah? No, I never. That's it may be, there may be a hadith on that. I can't tell you there's no hadith on that. But the addiction does not remove one from Islam. Therefore, there is an ability for them to be forgiven. OG Muslima, how can I start La Cocina in my city? I'm not affiliated with any masjid. Here's how you do it. You get a group of friends together. You say, hey, everyone, give me $5 and let's go. Okay. Now, if she's a Muslima, you need the guys to go into these neighborhoods if they're not good neighborhoods, but you can kick it off and you could be the leader by saying, everyone kick up $5 in the beginning. Is just like that, right? Every Friday, so-and-so will go deliver the food, and you get your son, you get your husband, you get your whoever to go. And sometimes some sisters have gone with us to see what's going on in the daytime when it was safe. Because sometimes there's a lot of drunks, there's a lot of bad things going on at nighttime. Even in the daytime, a lot of high people. So you go to the area that is filled with the fuqara walking around in the street, and you hand them some burgers. Or you make food. But here's the thing. You corner yourself into a schedule. Every Friday, I don't care what happens. Every Friday we're going out and someone is taking food from us. Whether that be a big tray or many little trays, or you buy sandwiches, which is inefficient, costs too much money. the best thing is to go out and make the food and at home, trays, some pasta, but sorry, not a big tray because that's not efficient either. Many little trays, right? So you make the vat of food or the pot of food or whatever, and you put it in little trays. You buy the trays from Amazon for like $3. You get trays for 2 months, right? Little plastic containers, like to-go containers at a restaurant. 3, 4, 5, 10. That's it. But it has to be every Friday. Cannot miss a Friday. Okay? Cannot miss a Friday. And the food runs, when we used to do them, 2-3 minutes. Sometimes literally it's 2-3 minutes. We walk in, there's guys are there, take the food, boom, we leave. But when you do it every single Friday, the snowball grows, right? That's how it works. If a family offers me share in a halal business, but you fear the business was funded by money from riba, is this a valid reason to decline it? Yes, it is if the contract to start the business was invalid. But if the contract to start the business was cash that someone brought in, and there is a possibility that that cash could also be halal, it's mixed money, then you could take the business. Okay? And if you don't want the business, give it to me. I'll take half the business. Okay? What is the hadith regarding addicts not entering Jannah? We answered that one. Please tell us the procedure to start La Cocina on our Masjids. That's how you do it. So Maryam, you heard, just rewind 3 minutes, and that's what you can get. The answer to your question. Okay. It starts by us going to them. Okay. When people see this after 4 or 5 years, we're talking 4 or 5 years here, right? Of just doing that. Then someone swooped in and said, we're giving you guys a property. And they paid the down payment, the close, and then we took over after that. This is if you ask me a vision for Muslims in America, it'd be too simple. People will think it's not a vision. It is a vision. And it's the right vision, and it's what's going to work. Islam is a granular religion. Change is granular. When regular guys can do it, regular women can do it, regular human beings can do it, busy people can do it. But now you're setting it, it's happening by millions upon millions of people are doing this behavior. That's where you're going to have change. Change is not going to come by a few people getting someone elected to a state congress or something. Someone said, well, why are you so down about that? I said, because why don't we go look? If you think that getting Muslims in politics is going to change the situation, then why aren't the Muslim countries the best countries, right? Go to Pakistan. The whole government's Muslim. Where did it get them? Go to Egypt. The whole government's Muslim. Where did it get them? Right? I'm down on it when people put this as this is the goal to celebrate. Like this is the big. I just don't see it. I don't buy it. It doesn't mean I'm 100% right about it, and that doesn't mean I'm looking at every perspective on it. Doesn't mean that the person who has an opposite opinion isn't correct. It's just my take on it.
Person's asking again about advice for someone who's suicidal and depressed. If you want to repeat it.
Advice for someone suicidal and depressed. Pick up the phone right now. Dial 911. Let them take custody of you so you don't hurt yourself. I believe that's the case. If you are suicidal, you cannot trust yourself. Call 911, or if you put on this in the chat where you're located, we'll call 911 for you because we're obligated to by law. If anyone, by morals and by law, if anyone tells you they're suicidal, you know that we're obligated as masjid employees, right? If someone comes to the mosque and says, I got bruised, my husband hit me, I'm sorry you told me that, I have to call the police now. I have to by law, right? If someone says, I'm suicidal, well, you told me it's too late. I don't care what you say to me next. 911, come take this person. They can't guard them. They cannot be trusted with themselves. Put them on suicide watch. So if you contact us with this, we can do it for you. If you don't want to contact 911, we'll call 911 for you. Muslims like Muin al-Chishti introduced free food and lodging to the concept of South Asia as a means of dawah. Jay Perez says, When you come home, it should be met. You should meet your families immediately and not neglect them to go to work right away. Okay. What does it, why does anyone ever say that the Ashari say the Quran and or claim that the Asharis and Maturidis say Quran is created? We say no, the Arabic language is created. Okay. And the word of Allah is the word, his word with himself, with no sounds, letters, languages, or beginning or end. And it is pre-eternal with him. That is al-kalam al-nafsi, his speech within himself. Before it was ever put on the lawh, al-mahfuz, before the Arabic language was ever created. And then is also his speech, and it is the Quran and is the word of Allah. Okay, when that kalam nafsi is in a way that can be recited in the Arabic language or the Hebrew language if it was the Torah, or the, I think they say Syriac if it was the Bible, and all the other languages of revelation. That is Allah's kalam lafzi. And what is between the binds of the Quran is Allah's word. وَلَيْسَ لِأَحَدٍ فِي أَصْلِ تَرْكِيبِهِ كَسْبٍ. And no human being has anything to do with the Quran, the construction of Allah's words. All right, or the putting together Allah's words, but it is kalam. It is his speech within himself before the creation of the Arabic language and before the creation of the pen and before the creation of the lawh. And then when it is that kalam is in a mode that can be recited in a created language, we call that al-kalamul lafzi, the uttered speech of Allah. It's very clear, right, Omar?
Say nadm instead, because lafz is like
Kalamun nadmi.
It's like, I don't know if they say that exactly, but like when they refer to the Quran as like composition,
composed,
that's what they prefer, because like lafz is like something that's coming out.
Yeah, you mean Maturidi
or Maturidi?
Yeah,
but Hanafis, you know.
nadmi because it was written in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, right? Yes. Mason Hakes, own a minivan, buy burgers from Turkish restaurant, deliver them to people. Thank you, Mason Hakes. Where are you from? Because you figured it out. Go to your friends next time you're hanging out with your buddies. Say, everyone pitch in $5, right? Then guess what's going to happen? After a few weeks, why don't we just start a nonprofit? Why? Because you guys are pitching $5. At least you get a tax exemption from that, right? Okay. And then, but you got to prove yourself first, right? Prove yourself first. Do it consistently for like a while. Every Friday I'm doing this. From this hour to this hour, I don't care what happens. Why do some scholars not allow digital piracy? It is an understanding today that there is harm if we pirate the works of scholars and just take the PDF and not buy the book, because it's a harm right now. Okay. Melody 21 says, if you get lack of response from a person or a teacher, does that mean that they're not for you? Well, if you are persistent and they persistently don't answer you ever and they're not benefiting you at all, then you can't take them as a teacher because they're not talking to you. But they don't respond to you once or twice. No, you need to also be persistent. Okay. And there are teachers who ignore the first knock on the door. They just ignore it because they want persistence. They want you to have strength, right? How long would it be until you notice benefits of sin addiction abstention? Immediately. Okay. You will notice the benefits when you are not committing some kind of sin. You should feel on your conscience, at least, that you are no longer displeasing Allah. All right. What if you have a low tolerance to sins, but I end up hating sinners for committing sins? No, we shouldn't hate the people who fall into things. We should hate the people who are happy and love those things. That is the person who is an enemy to goodness. Someone who loves these things. What was the difference? A guy who was in need of money, he goes into a little 7-Eleven, puts his gun in the air and says, empty the register, takes $150 and leaves, then gets caught. Two guys do this. One guy gets caught, puts his head down and says, I screwed up. I did something bad. I'm sorry. Other guys laugh and I'm happy. I would do it again. Right? Is there a difference? Of course. Difference. Big difference.
I was asking, could you do a Tasawwuf 101 podcast, like an intro for people that want to learn?
Yeah, we can try to do a Tasawwuf 101 podcast, inshallah. What about doing the soup kitchen only in the wintertime? I know I disagree with that because you lose your momentum. It's got to be every week. Can you turn on automatic captions? I don't know how to do that. Maybe Omar knows.
They're kind of inaccurate, I think. But
Abdul Mu'id, can you suggest a path for non-Arabs to learn Arabic? Yes, very easily. arcview.org, right? We are now this week we will be opening up registration, or at least Monday, probably by Monday, Tuesday. We'll be opening up registration for the new Arabic track. Okay. Okay. When you come and visit La Cocina, you're seeing us in our like 8th year of work, right? 8 years. So it's not, everyone's not going to start like this. And that's the thing. If you have the stomach and you have the ability to tolerate the simplicity of something, the glory-free nature of a task, you'll succeed. But if someone only wants to see the end result and wants that right away, then don't go for that. All right, NN, what's the question for NN? What is NN's question that they said I skipped? Oh, no, I'm not answering that. I get into that. Most darghas in the subcontinent have a langar. La langar, I guess we can call it in Urdu. But La Cocina, go to lacocina367.org and pitch in, because this week, next week? Next Saturday, we're giving school supplies to the kids. Okay. Desi Muslims should support things like La Cocina because their ancestors came to Islam that way, says Talib Razi. Thank you very much. So you can support it at lacocina367.org. Okay. Can I apply to work in hair transplantation? Yes, you may. Hair transplantation is permitted in some madhahib and forbidden in others, because some schools say that you cannot benefit from yourself, your body. Your body is not a source of benefit. In other words, you can't take part of my body, put it in another part. However, others have said, no, it is, because to lose hair, it's a aib. It's a flaw in the body. It's something that it's not how Allah created people. Allah created you with a head of hair. So if you lose it, you are permitted to put it back, right? So there is difference of opinion. Because there's a difference of opinion, you may work there and you may help people have a full head of hair, and consider that even charitable work too. Like, it's a good deed. The Malikiya were against it. The Hanabila were for it. All right. Probably the Shafi'i would also be permissive of it. I don't know what the Hanafis would say, but it's ikhtilaf. It's a new matter too. Yeah. What does it mean that why was Imam al-Bukhari exiled out of his city? He was exiled because an extremist group, they were not an extremist group, but on this issue they were extreme. And it was one of his previous teachers. Okay. Abu Muhammad what is it? His name is always forgotten. Abu Muhammad, something with a dhal or a dha. But anyway, he would go so extreme to say that the Quran is not created that he would even say your recitation of the Quran is not created, which contradicts the Quran. Allah says, خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Al-Dhuhali, thank you. Maryam got it down. Abu Muhammad al-Dhuhali. And in Sahih Bukhari, Imam Bukhari only mentions him as Abu Muhammad. This is an ibham, so that people know that he's not endorsing his innovation. That is an innovation. You're directly contradicting the Quran when Allah says, خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. He created you and what you do. And you now turn around and say that your recitation of the Quran is not created. And this is an example, as Qadi Iyad says, the literalists are people who wanted to preserve the religion, but ended up stepping on other foundations of the religion in order to protect the religion. Qadi Iyad, when he speaks about the literalists, this is what he says about them. He says, they sought to protect the religion from one innovation, but they ended up committing another innovation, or, rejecting something else that needed to be rejected. That's his analysis of the innovators, the literalists. We're not literalists. Are 40-day hattam after relative dies from the tradition? Not necessarily, no. It's not necessary. There's nothing from the sunnah. There's nothing from fiqh that to do the 40-day khatam. Yet at the same time, if it's a gathering, the gathering in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. And you do ihda' al-thawab. You gift the good deeds to that person. That in itself, I'll tell you, what is an innovation is to say that the 40 is a sunnah. Whether you did it on the 39. Now, did some wali have some mukashafa about the 40 days? Allahu a'lam, but it still wouldn't be a hujjah for us. In the sense that we would not say this is a sunnah, this is a special day. That stuff we won't say. However, the concept of gathering, giving sadaqah and food, and reciting the Quran and making dua and doing isalu thawab to the person is permitted. And you get good deeds for that. It's just the belief about the 40 days has no foundation from Quran or Hadith. Cap Muslim says, how to be motivated to continue ibadah at home after you come back from the masjid. Sometimes the home and the masjid, they're two different vibes. And you should accept that and be happy with that, right? Masjid, I'm able to do one thing because the environment suits me. At home, the environment doesn't suit you the same way. The masjid, everyone's supporting you in the masjid to do ibadah. The environment supports you. So don't try to go against the grain. If you want to do ibadah in the masjid in your home, create a little mosque in your home. Create a room that nothing happens in this home except salah and recitation of Quran. Put all the masahif there, and anytime you want to pray, go there, if your house is big enough. But don't also overdo yourself and make yourself fail, okay? Because you're trying to do something in an environment that doesn't work. Especially a big home with a lot of people. It's not the environment for serious action, right? So environment is really important. Okay. Who is Imam Taftazani, one of the biggest theologians we have? Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we have to end it right here. Jazakumullahu khairan, everybody. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruk wa natubu ilayk. Wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. Wa tawasaw bil haqq. Wa tawasaw bis sabr. We'll see you next Monday bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Aşkınla arasında yıldızlar kadar zikredin. Uzat şarabından için şu canı aşkla versinler. Ya kalbe şiir